Picture this: a developer, a laptop, and a whole lot of coffee. They're building an entire application from scratch in a single afternoon, all thanks to AI. The login works, the dashboard is beautiful, the database is humming along. It honestly feels like we're living in the future, right? But this future, it has a pretty nasty hidden bug.
I mean, they're just typing out prompts, and poof, features just appear, almost like magic. It feels like you're conducting a symphony of code without writing a single line. Productivity is just off the charts. But you know how it goes. This perfect setup, it's about to run into a major wall.
So a tiny bug pops up in the authentication flow. No big deal, right? The developer just tells the AI to fix it, and like clockwork, it spits out a patch. The bug is gone, the system is back to being perfect. Or so it seems.
But then, just seconds later, things start to go haywire. All of a sudden, the payment system completely crashes. User profile pages just won't load. The database starts screaming with errors. And these aren't related systems we're talking about. It's a total cascade failure ripping through the entire app.
So what on earth is going on here? How does one simple, targeted fix cause this much chaos across completely unrelated parts of a system? Well, that is the central question we're going to answer. And the answer lies in a brand new kind of trap that a lot of us are falling into without even realizing it.
Okay, so here's the problem. It's got a name that's starting to catch on: the vibe coding trap. And it's this really tricky mix of a psychological pitfall and a technical one that's catching developers who are leaning heavily on these new AI tools.
So what is vibe coding? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. You're building software based on the vibe, on natural language prompts. And the crazy thing is, it feels like it works perfectly. But underneath all that, what you're really building is a vibe architecture, and it's super brittle, a tangled mess of connections that nobody, not you and certainly not the AI, fully understands.
Now, let's just contrast that with the way we've been debugging things for years, right? The traditional way. It's methodical. You gather contexts, you read the code, you dig through logs. You're like a detective, forming a hypothesis about the real root cause, and then you test it. It takes work, but it's based on a deep understanding of the system.
But the AI debugging loop, man, it's a completely different beast and it's dangerous. You just paste an error log into a prompt. You apply the patch the AI gives you, and poof, the first problem is gone. But then a new problem appears somewhere else entirely, and you get stuck in this nightmare cycle, just putting out fires that the last fix actually started.
And look, this isn't just some theory. This is a real thing people are feeling. In a recent survey, a whopping 66% of developers said their #1 frustration with AI is that its solutions are almost right, but not quite. And that almost, that's the killer. That's where all these hidden problems and cascading failures live.
All right, let's just pause for a second. If any of this sounds familiar, if you've ever been stuck in that loop of chasing AI bugs, do me a favor and hit that like button. I really want to see how many of us are dealing with this, so drop vibe coding in the comments below. Okay, now let's dive into the core technical reason why this actually happens.
So what's the deep technical reason for all this chaos? It all comes down to something we can call the keyhole problem. See, at the heart of every single one of these AI models is a fundamental limitation. It's called the context window. Think of it as the AI's short-term memory. It's the maximum amount of text it can literally see at any one time. And here's the crucial part. Anything outside that window, the rest of your giant code base, it's just invisible to the AI. It might as well not exist.
This is probably the best way to think about it. Imagine the AI is trying to fix a traffic jam in a massive city, but it's being forced to look at the whole situation through a tiny keyhole. It can see one problem, right? A single car that's stuck. But what it can't see is the giant parade happening 3 blocks over, which is the real cause of the gridlock. So the fix it suggests is based on incomplete information, and it's almost guaranteed to be flawed.
And this lack of a big picture has some really specific consequences. First, you've got temporal context loss. The AI basically forgets the original rules you set up in earlier conversations, so your code starts to drift away from the plan. Then there's spatial context loss. The AI can't connect your documentation to the right code files, so you end up with inconsistent patterns all over the place. And maybe the worst one of all is local optimization. The AI is only trying to solve the one tiny problem in the prompt, which means the whole system can lose its global coherence. Every fix makes the architecture just a little bit worse.
So you see what's happening, right? All these tiny, isolated, locally optimized errors start to pile up over time. And this whole process of vibe coding, which is driven by that keyhole problem, it leads to this really dangerous long-term outcome for your entire codebase. We call it architectural drift.
Architectural drift, it's like a slow poison for your codebase. It's when your software gradually, almost invisibly, wanders away from its original, clean design. Each and every AI-generated fix, which is only focused on a local problem, acts like a tiny nudge, pushing the system further and further away from a solid foundation.
And here's a perfect visual for it. On the left, that's the dream. That's what you intended to build. It's clean, it's organized, everything makes sense. But on the right, well, that's reality after a few months of these AI-driven fixes. It's a tangled nightmare of inconsistent patterns and hidden dependencies. Sure, it might technically still work until one day it spectacularly doesn't.
You know, some researchers at Google had a fantastic way of describing this problem, and this was way back in 2015. They called machine learning systems the high-interest credit card of technical debt. And with today's AI coding tools, we are racking up that debt faster than ever before, because we're skipping the hard work of actually understanding the problems we're trying to solve. So, does all this mean we should just give up on AI for coding? No, absolutely not. But it does mean we have to fundamentally change how we think about using it. The path forward is all about redefining what our role as human architects is in this new era. And if you remember only one thing from this whole explainer, please let it be this. AI writes drafts. Humans own the decisions. We have to start treating the AI as a powerful tool, not as the final authority. It can generate the code, but you, the human architect, you are still the one who has to make the final call. You own the system's integrity.
So how do we do this in practice? Well, first you design the skeleton of your system, the components, the interfaces, and then you let the AI fill in the implementation details. A great mental model is to treat the AI like a super fast but very naive junior developer. It can write code quickly, but it has zero project context. Use practices like test-driven development to keep changes small and verifiable. Be super explicit about your architectural rules in every prompt. And most importantly, critically review every single line the AI suggests and ask yourself, does this actually fit into the bigger picture?
Look, at the end of the day, these AI tools are incredible. They can accelerate the process of writing code to a degree we've never seen before. But they can't replace the deep, system-level thinking required to maintain a stable, scalable system. That still needs a human architect at the helm, making the tough decisions. This is a huge conversation, and it's one we all need to be having as developers, so if you found this breakdown valuable, please share it with another developer you know. And of course, don't forget to like this explainer and subscribe to Lalit Official for more deep dives into the tech that's shaping our world. Thanks so much for watching.